Hi everybody, Paul here from Hill Country Rings. I'm here at Garrison Brothers Distillery and I'm going to make a ring from one of their barrel staves. So I'm going to have to drive to the shop now. Well, this is that bourbon barrel stave from Garrison Brothers, and it's a real stave from a real bourbon barrel. They do their own aging on premises. They have some of the, I guess, the biggest aging barns in Texas, and we did the full tour and we did the aging barns and saw where they did the stills and the distilling, and they got some really cool stuff. They even got like the original still they had. I think he got it from Elmer T. Lee when the Garrison, when he went to Kentucky to learn how to make bourbon from a lot of the experts, from the old timers. And we also got to taste some good Garrison Brothers bourbon, and that was a pretty good part of the experience. So I'm going to take this piece of this oak, and that's the thing. Bourbon has to be aged in oak barrels, and they have to be new oak barrels. So when you're finished with the barrel, they can't reuse it and just put more bourbon into it. Now they sell the barrels to other people. I think some of the beer breweries buy their barrels and they do bourbon barrel beer. They send some of them to Scotland, and you can age scotch in them. They sell them. People cut them up, make firewood out of them, or use them for barbecue. Or do like I do and make a ring out of it. So I'm going to take this oak, and you can actually see the coloring in here from the bourbon, because over the years of aging, it gets hot, gets cold, gets hot, gets cold, and the bourbon goes in and out of this oak, and that's pretty much where the bourbon gets its color from. So we're gonna do this on a titanium core. And inlay. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece of this wood. I'm going to cut out the char so I don't get my hands all filthy, and then I'm going to put it on a lathe and bore it out to fit this ring core. So let's get started on that. And one cool thing about doing this bourbon barrel wood is doing it and cutting it and putting it on a lathe. It smells like bourbon in here. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, let's explain what I did here. This is a piece of that oak stave. I cut it off. I cut this little piece out to make a ring blank, and then I cut off the char as close as I could to the char. There's still a little bit I could have got closer on, but my bandsaw is not that accurate. So I cut off the char, and then I cut off the back part of it because this was just too thick. So now I got a nice ring blank, and that ring blank, you can still see that coloring, and that is from the bourbon going into that wood, going in and out of that wood. So I want this to be part of the ring. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in the lathe and bore him out. My ring core is 23.87 millimeters. So I've got a 24 millimeter Forstner bit checked up. I'm going to bore them out this way, all the way to the back, and then I will use a boring bit and I'll cut it down so it fits into that core. So you can see I got to cut a good bit of it off, so it's going to be cut a lot of that wood still, even though that's still pretty thick. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and check this guy up and go ahead and bore him out. Okay, and Good and checked up. Alright. There we go. Good. Checked up tight. Get this guy out of the way. Got our Forstner bit. Now we'll go ahead and bore him out. Alright. There we go. Now this ring channel is a 4mm. It's 3.99, so that's 4mm. And so what I'm going to do is I've got this boring bar. I'm going to go in till the boring bar just before it peeks out the back end here of the wood. And I'm going to set my DRO, my digital readout, turn it on and zero it. And now it measures how far this way I go. So I'm going to come out here to a little over 4mm, just a fraction over it, and cut this way. Now because this is so thick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going in from here, the edge. I'm going to go ahead and this way down to about 5mm, and so that will cut some of this thickness off. Then I can go in to 4mm and come this way. So kind of a two-step process on this one. So let's go down to about 5mm, and then we'll go in and come sideways to 4. Alrighty. And so I made a big old hole, but I still have that shelf. And what I need to do is now cut that shelf down a little bit. And I'm going to recheck my zero, make sure I still got a good zero with my DRO. And there it is. Yeah, we're good. So I'll come out just over 4, because I don't mind sanding a little bit of it off, but you can't sand it back on. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and go this way. Alright, so there's that 4mm shelf to fit around that ring core. And this DRO, the digital readout, it's just a game changer for doing these. I know a lot of people get on me for doing wood on a metal lathe, but this is the best way to do it, friends. This is the best way to do it. Alright, we're back on the bandsaw. I'm going to cut our relief cuts right here and right here so I can break this. And it'll break that, and then I can bond it around that core, and I'll still have a perfect circle. If I was to cut all the way through, then the curve of the saw would cut that and it wouldn't be a perfect circle. Let's do that. Alright, so we go ahead and put on this piece of aluminum, and I always cut it with the grain so it makes it easier to break. It's the moment of truth. There we go, nice clean break. And might need a little bit of sanding, just a little bit. That's okay, we can do that. That's going in there, although it's kind of tight, so just a tiny bit of sanding to so we can fit, but still have just a little bit of space for that two-part epoxy. Still kind of tight. Maybe a little bit more sand. Alright, there we go. That's all it took. Nice and tight. Still got a little bit of room for epoxy. Alright, now we just got to epoxy them together. Now before we epoxy them together, because this is titanium, I can go ahead and scratch the inside of this ring here. Can't do this with tungsten or black ceramic. We can do it with titanium or steel. And just to make sure I got a good bond. Something for that epoxy to grip onto. Just do that, and then some little scratches on the inside of the wood, just right down the center here, just so you can get that epoxy can get a good hold on it. All right, now we just clean them up with, put down our tin foil. And then take some denatured alcohol, and we clean up the wood core first, just to get it off any sanding dust and stuff off that wood core, or the wood blank, I guess. This is the blank in the middle of the core. Let's get that clean, and that'll evaporate off real quick. And then we clean up our core, just in case there's any oil left over from the machining of the core. And he looks pretty clean. Looks really clean, actually. Alright, now we mix up our two-part epoxy. Get one of my jeweler's tools here. And put in our two-part epoxy. And hardener. Just a little blob of each. And this stuff is 24-hour epoxy, so it takes a while for it to set, but hey, it's worth it and gets a good bond. It's the strongest stuff I've been able to find. So mix it all up good. And then we'll put a little bit on the inside of the wood here. It's a good little coating. Let that kind of seep in for a minute. Then we put a good layer on the inside of the ring core, just all the way around, so that we get that good patented wet-to-wet bond. We don't want any dry spots. Just take our time, go all the way around it. And don't want too much because you don't want it swooshing out, and then you just gotta, this makes the cleanup a real pain in the butt. So, all the way around again. Just to make sure we got all the way around it. Alright. Now, we just put this guy on here. Put this guy on here. We can squeeze down, bit of a turn, and there we go. Do a little clean up anything that's squished out where we can. And on my little clamps here, and clamp him down. You don't have to clamp it tight, just, I mean, it's not like very tight, just nice and snug so he'll stay together and stay bonded. Alright, just gotta let him bond overnight and cure, and then we'll come back and do the rest tomorrow. The next day, and we got this Garrison Brothers bourbon barrel oak ring all epoxied up, and now we're going to cut off all this excess on the bandsaw, get it down. Then we'll turn them on the lathe till the wood is flush, put them on the little rotisserie, and we'll put some finish on them. Then we'll bring them back to the lathe and do some sanding and polishing and get them all nice and pretty. So let's do that process. We're going to put him back on the lathe now that we got him the finish on, and Gonna hit him up with the scratch free, the 1, 2, and 3 polishing compounds, and the diamond paste. Then we'll take him over to the buffer. But first, before we do that, we're gonna do a little bit of sanding with the SMA 800 grit sandpaper just to get any little bumps off and clean up the metal. Well, alright, here's a piece of that oak bourbon barrel from Garrison Brothers, and here's the ring that I made out of it, and it came out pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. Now my shop does smell like a distillery, but ain't nothing wrong with that. So really had a good time at Garrison Brothers, and really enjoyed making this ring. And I made this for myself, just kind of a memory of my trip. And if you would like a ring made from a bourbon barrel, from the deck of a battleship, from the stock of an M1 Garand, from a Major League Baseball bat, check out hillcountryrings.com. See some of the other custom rings that I make. Drop me a comment and tell me what ring that you'd like to see me make. And if you'd like to like and subscribe, that would really help the channel. But in the meantime, I'd love to make a ring for you. Thanks, everybody.